Alright, welcome back. Here's another tutorial. We're going to be covering prop design, specifically guns, or in my case, handguns, hand cannon, sidearms, stuff like that. Um, oops, what's happening here? Alright. I'm some of this reference I've gathered showcases at least some of the ideas where I want to combine sort of like the old, uh, kind of the old, I don't know, Western feel, for lack of better words, with sort of the modern day. And I also included some of the cosplay examples just to show how they sort of exaggerate or give it sort of those faux finishes. I think those are great exaggerations. I like to kind of play up. So, but mainly I like the big shapes, exaggerated shapes. Something that comes to mind is like uh, the Hellboy gun. I know Mike Mignola sort of designed that in mind, but I love how it still feels like you could hold it. As exaggerated as it is, it feels like you can still hold it. So I want to apply the same thinking, right? So let's get started. So I'm gonna put this off to the side. Get jamming. I'm gonna work in my usual 3500 by 2500, more or less, and all right. So I'm gonna pick sort of a brush of tapers that I can draw with. I'm gonna do a little bit of thumbnails. Just kind of play with some of the, get familiar with some of the shapes. I recommend you do the same thing, same twos. If you're unfamiliar with the subject matter, then definitely it's worth kind of instead of jumping right into a finals, do some thumbnails. It's always where you're sort of starting your day. It's good to kind of jump, get it going with some ideas, some shapes. Right, I'm just kind of following what's there. We have sort of the handle or the butt end of the gun. Kind of like that. Oops. Just realized I'm drawing on the background layer, but that's okay. I mean, this is just preliminary sketches, so it's not a big deal. I'm following what's there, but in my design, I wanna sort of come up with my own. Let's see. It's really all about finding like a sort of rhythm of shapes that you find interesting that still follow um, what would make sense, right? As far as so that you could hold in your hand, that it's not too clunky or bulky, or maybe it is sort of like a different reality, like a sci-fi kind of it's not of this world. So, but for me, I want to stick with that spec for now, is that I want it to feel still functional, but maybe it's gonna, I'm just gonna move that over. I'll do another one. This time I'll actually make a new layer. This is kind of cool, like this little sidearm, right? I'm just gonna lock that in. Right. And these are just warm-up sketches, really, you know. So excuse me. It's not. They don't have to be exact or anything. They're just. I'm just trying to get a taste, or to kind of get familiar with the shapes, right? So. Shrink them down a little bit. I like the little sort of insignias or decals on even something like this small. There's little model numbers or logos and all that. It's definitely, I think that's pretty cool. Like maybe incorporating some of that into my design. Here's the magazine by the end of it. There you go. All right, now I can kind of start to play with some design elements. That sounds really cool. I like that one too. That's so. I'll just put this one up here. keep it reasonable, keep it at a reasonable size. Just no. I find when I make the drawing a little too big, then I'm more likely to kind of get involved in the details. Unless that's the point, it's really gonna sort of affect sort of my ability to sort of quickly get a read down, so just kind of indicating. Here you go. Right. Those secondary shapes are usually like plating, but look at that. That's kind of interesting. There's like an actual hole in the shape of this revolver. I play Destiny, and a lot of their hand cannons have that. They're trying to reference some of the old kind of revolvers, So I feel like I'm designing something for that. Right. Kind of like this. This idea here, it's kind of interesting. I'm still following the photo a lot, but kind of like it. I like that. That is sort of riff on. Let's see. And this kind of flow to it is really nice. Just kind of. Kind of flatten it down. All right. All right, for real this time, we'll get into some design. All right. I'm gonna come back to this. I really like this. It's just something very interesting about. So I'm gonna I'm gonna try to play with it. I'm gonna incorporate a little bit of those into my design. All right. I mean, like I like that kind of flow to it. You know, maybe something about like the gesture of that hand always sort of does. I just noticed that, so maybe I want to find that as well. All right. Okay. I'll try to maybe figure out like a gesture to it. Just kind of keep it reasonable size. Trying in that. Those proportions are interesting too, like where this sort of the handle, sort of the sort of stock, right? Back end, butt end of the gun, sort of back that way. So I'm starting with sort of this base inspiration. Well, you know, I definitely want to do a lot more with it. I'm trying to get a little bit more wiggle room to work in. So I want to try to push that sort of gesture. Also like this, like maybe we come out a little bit more to there. You know, maybe this thing has a sort of seen in that photo above it. Maybe it has. sort of the sights. I want to keep it like a revolver, so maybe it definitely has sort of that cylinder there. All right. I want to give this a little bit more of a, shape. Like I liked what we had here, so really it's just about finding shapes that work, just that work for your aesthetic. So I'm always trying to find how things, just like with life drawing, where you try to make maybe the gesture of the right arm line up with the gesture of the the left leg. That kind of, you'll see that a lot. So I want to give this a little bit more, like some bulk to it, kind of like that. Maybe it's more like a, I don't know why, for whatever reason, when I do that, it feels like more like a pocket pistol, so. I'm keeping it loose and I'm not trying to get too caught up, right? All right. I love when you see like those, like you go to, I forget what, the Gene Autry Museum here in Los Angeles. It has some amazing like detail work as far as like the guns are concerned. It's just like holy hell, like. I mean, they're just artworks unto themselves. Kind of want to maybe have like sort of taking from this here, this right there. I want to start to build that out. Maybe I'll kind of beef that up a little bit. There you go. That's that could be kind of cool to kind of mess with, you know, as far as like a design. Kind of like where I just love the overall shape and just a little. It's not too, you know, ridiculous or anything. It's just at least at least the way I see it. This will probably have to get longer. So, you know, I'll kind of stick with that, and let's take this, and I'm gonna sort of build off of it. Just kind of I'm gonna make a couple notes. You know, just as a reminder, like 8. So maybe this is what I'm thinking, like, so we'll have like frame, or this could be frame, and then plate. So like frame is like just one solid piece, and then this plate is sort of like stuck onto it, or maybe like it's recessed into it. That could be kind of cool. And then here's another we can get sort of like ornate sort of pattern there. I don't know why it has to be written nicely. As you can see, I get kind of ornate pattern. Site. All right. Let's open up a new document, and then I can kind of start to take that design and take it further. I'm just gonna lower the opacity and draw sort of on a new layer my design. So I like to, I'm gonna set up my brush so that there's not a lot of transparency. It has flow set to pen pressure, but at the same time I want it to, it will have some transparency just by the opacity I've set up there. So if you look closely, I can kind of do that and then go back over it. Should get, maybe I'll have to go 70. Yeah, I think that could work. That's fine. Right, so I want this to almost be like a pencil. Thought of like a nice pencil line drawing, but kind of overextend, overdraw my lines. I want to be a little bit still mindful of what's happening with my reference. So I just kind of keep that on the side there. Just kind of slow down. Sometimes you gotta, to get the right to get that line, just, I guess it's not about being perfect, but you definitely want to, like, I don't want it to be segmented either, you know, so just gonna find, you'll see like some of the masters like Sid Mead use a French curve, and it's beautiful just to watch how, you know, like how he does that with a Sharpie, you know what I mean, like it's with a one of those fine tip Sharpies, and you're just like, wow, it's just amazing, you know, just to see that, like all those years of, you know, sort of mileage put into that, you know. So and with anything, you know, you do it enough times, you get better and better at it. I I, I don't, I rarely do things where I'm having to make a clean line per se. I mean, but I can, but it just, you know, I have to sort of get in that groove, right? Like get into that sort of that zone. All right, so I think I might extend this a little bit. Maybe it won't be so, you know, pronounced as far as like that. right? Now, it's not, even myself, I'm telling you this just to remind myself, you don't have to be um, so perfect with it. You kind of, you know, you cheat a little bit and use the sort of, keep keep those gestures in there. If I was on my Cintiq, I'd probably nail this in one shot. But I'm using my Wacom tablet. Let's keep carrying on. I'm sorry to kind of, there you go. Just kind of continue being try to be as efficient as I can, but at the same time, it's just I'm not the guy to make everything look perfect. I kind of so I just want to be right in that sort of the as long as it looks and feels like it's in the right spot, or it's kind of just got just enough to it. I think then I want to try to refrain from um, having the lines get too thick or broad, I should say. So I don't want to kind of start to lower this back a little bit, just so I can really see what my drawing is doing on its own. All right. Let's add in a little bit of this here. So this will be sort of that plate. All right. I'll use the rotate tool again just to utilize that there you go. Maybe I'm just kind of utilizing got to remember not to do, there's, I think there's good and bad details, right? There's definitely details you can add at this point so that it can help you along, but then there's also details where it's just going to waste your time, so knowing which one is which, well, uh, so for me, it's like, I realize I'm not going to detail that. It's just not going to serve me right now. It might, one could argue maybe it will help, help you, just whatever, like give it a little bit more flavor or whatever, like. But at this point, I'll probably say it's just going to get in the way of sort of efficiently knocking out this drawing, right? And this is the bulk of the work. After this, everything else is just sort of paint by numbers, more or less, right? Maybe there's some kind of slider here of some sort. All right, can I continue on? It's one of those things where, like, just enough details is the right amount of details. I think with concept art, that's a good one to follow. It's easy to, I think with illustration, that's not the case. You really want to kind of fill out, make sure they're getting a fully polished product or, image in that sense. But I think with concept, development or concept art, where you're just trying to get the image should start a dialogue or should get the ball rolling in terms of production. It's just you just need the right amount. There's, I think, laboring over it might work against you. You know what I mean? Things might look too overworked. I think some art directors or some producers or directors and production designers, they like to see finished work, but that's what they consider finished might be different to you. It's just like how they define it, so you just have to adjust accordingly, I find. So so I'm thinking this will be like a place for some ornamentation of some sort. I'm thinking all right, we just kind of come up here. So you can see, you can kind of get, with my draw in, undo, draw in, undo, just to get the perfect sort of a line in there. There's something to be said about that, but I think when it gets in the way of productivity, you gotta dial it back. So it just depends on what you're trying to do. I think, like storyboarding and all that, I would use a more of like where lines don't, they're more kind of not sketchy but they're more swift, but they don't have to be perfectly like swoopy or dynamic per se. You know what I mean? It just depends. I mean, because most of the time you have more of a quantity, like an output that you got to put out. So. All right. So get that. Kind of like maybe the hammer needs to. I guess you get into the sights, right? So the sight is this. You don't want it to be. Right now, no, just forego. I also think this should be a straight line, right? In terms of the shape. Just keep I just want to a bit where it sort of lines up. maybe in here we can have some of that same plating there in here, right? That could be kind of cool. Cypress Hill song just popped into my head. Oh my god. The old ones, not the whatever. I don't know how to follow what they've done recently, but I think it was called Cock the Hammer. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of right now. Stroke. Like that, sort of like that feel to it, where it's kind of reducing it down because maybe it has I like the idea of like these kind of plating let's put on there. You know, just so that it's like the gun is sort of this, at least the frame is like this solid, thick, you know, casted metal, and then you have like these added on sort of plates, whether it be to add on a feature or I don't know. It's just right. Maybe we'll have I think with this with the cylinder here, I want to I might just have to resort to sort of the iconic sort of these recessed pockets, right? So I imagine it has something to do with in terms of the interior fittings, but also maybe when it's spinning, there's less friction or like potential for friction as far as it moving. I really don't know, but I was just trying to like think about it from a, imagine gun experts, gun enthusiasts would definitely know what's up as far as like why it's that way. I never really researched it. There you go. I don't want this. Like I like how this kind of pops out. So maybe it's kind of recessed. It's like a recessed. Oh, I see. That's the stem. I can't get it. I'm gonna make this one short. I'm thinking maybe this part kind of comes forward. Maybe we can reflect that by maybe changing the contours. Maybe it's the reverse. No, I better not. I'm not gonna mess with it. Oh, I know. Maybe it is here, and then this part. Yeah, that can fly. So it pops out there, and then maybe this one does too. They need a smart line tool that goes, oh, you're trying to extend that line here, and then Photoshop does it. Like, you know what I mean? Like Adobe, get on it. All right. And the sights would have to go higher. That just wouldn't make sense with that hammer, but I kind of like it. It's kind of, I don't want to change it, but I don't want to change it. I gotta. So this is like maybe the sights, the laser sights. Maybe. Just like want to put some kind of sticker. Something he's got like. Just kind of creating some secondary details. Maybe this will have a sort of a recessed. Let's see. I think that's we're in a good spot, you know, as far as a line drawing is concerned. It's not bad. It could be definitely a lot more um, taken to a higher degree as far as, oops. I know you can transform selection, but I'm choosing not to. Tempted to. move it up so it's a little. Just kind of all right. So I kind of turn off or even delete it. That layer underneath. And now I'm just gonna, like a coloring book, just kind of fill in this layer. I want to pick something that's a little bit darker than the background. I can kind of sort of just fill it in. I recommend you put your brush spacing all the way down, as low as you can go. Turn off opacity, set the pen pressure, and definitely, like I like to leave this on, pen pressure, flow to pen pressure, just make sure that this is 100. You get a lot less. Otherwise, what will happen is you just have like all this artifacting as far as opacity is concerned. You want this to be pretty much 100% flat. You know, just one sort of one color. If you go beyond the line, like it's not the end of the world, but you know, if you are going to take the time to do this, you might as well just make it, you know, if you do see it, clean up that overspray. If you need to, you can kind of beef up the line work a little bit just by duplicating it onto itself. And what I'll do is on the top, the layer that's on top of it, I'll just lower the opacity a little bit. Just so the line is not necessarily thicker, but just more dense. It will appear thicker, but it's really just a density of the line. Let's see. something cathartic about just kind of getting this part filled in. I was just like, oh. Feels like you accomplished something just by filling this in just ever so eloquently. Now I'm sort of, I don't know how far are we into this. So I'm guessing this will probably take around 2 hours. As far as it could definitely be done faster if you've done it uh, numerous times, right? So here we go. Now I have a base value for my gun. I'm gonna duplicate it onto itself to make sure there's absolutely no. You could do this several times to make sure that's completely opaque or just one flat shape, right? Now I want to start blocking in the values. I just decided I think I'm going to just keep this black and white. So I'm not going to really get into color. I think that's just decided that right now. Kind of like where this gun is going, and maybe I'll do some monochromatic or maybe dual tone, but for the most part I'm going to keep it sort of black and white, which makes it a little bit easier, you know what I mean? Because I don't have to think about warming cools or saturation and stuff like that. All right, so I want to start blocking in some value, and the same thing, I want to paint with completely flat, opaque values. So here I'm thinking about the local value. So what is the value of this plate on this handle in comparison to its surrounding areas? So I'm thinking maybe it's a little bit lighter. Let's see, maybe. And we can change this, so don't get so caught up on what it should be and whatever. You can definitely change this on the fly, and you'll see it later on. If it's on its own layer, if you watch my other tutorials or you see me demo before, you pretty much already know. Like, because it's on its own layer, you can just go ahead and just adjust it. So it's not really that big of a deal, but you do want to, in terms of like the design process, you do want to have it at least look like it's a little lighter. And I'm picking the most obvious thing here that I know is going to be lighter. I don't know about the rest of the gun, so we'll see how I want to do like sort of all that plating and so forth. Here as well too. Now this background is competing with that value, so for now I'm just gonna let it be a little bit. Make it a little bit lighter, so that again we're gonna change these, so it's not that big of a deal. Kind of just clean up that background. There you go. Same thing here. If you kind of go beyond the lines, you can clean it up, just by erasing into it. So it's not the end of the world. Right. Now I'm gonna make another new layer, and I forgot to mention this. So like this layer here, right? This layer, you can kind of see it blinking, turning off and on, is linked or clipped to the layer that it's below it. Now the way I do this, hold down Option and you click on the line between the layers. And what this really means is that anytime when it's clipped like this, so I'll show you without it clipped. So this is without it clipped, and then this is with it clipped, right? This is without it clipped, right? So the line sort of goes beyond it. Now with it clipped, I do the same line. You only see it within those pixels. So it's a really handy way to work when you're sort of methodically building up sort of the values, right? Okay, so I'm going to make a new layer and clip it same way. I'm going to hold down Option, click on that line between the layer below, and now it's clipping to that same base layer. You can only, as far as I know, you can't clip within a clip. So this layer is clipped to that. Layer 4 is clipped to layer 3. I can't clip layer 5 to layer 4. What I can do is only clip layer 5 to layer 3. There's a workaround if I need to clip it to both using layer mask, but for the most part, as far as I know, I can't clip within a clip. So, but there are workarounds. So with Photoshop, there's always another way to do it. So, all right. So do I want to get darker or do I want to get lighter? So let's try to see. Maybe, yeah, getting darker. So this would be the dark areas. And this isn't the dark areas as far as light is concerned. These are the dark areas as far as local value is concerned. So the value that this object has, right? The actual value. So like think about like your typical blue jeans versus your typical red shirt, right? Just by, if you had to turn it grayscale, what would the value be of that pair of jeans in comparison to the value of the red shirt, right? So that's what I'm sort of referencing here, is like the local value. So this may be, I'm just gonna fill all this in. So it's just one. I can't paint beyond that line, like the extreme outer edge. I can't paint because it's clipped, right? But if I unclip it, you see that it does. So it's there. It's just not. It's not going to show it to you. So it's a really good, handy way to work. I feel like maybe this all should be here. And you don't have, like, I'm trying to be as logical as I can with it, but you don't have to. You can do whatever. You know what I mean? You could think not everything that's metal has to be this dark thing, or whatever. You feel free to try and get kind of crazy with it. So I'm making the case that maybe this is like a dark wood, because I definitely want it to be wood, which I'll use like a wood texture later on to sort of do that. right, and then kind of want to make this part, but I think it might be at this point too much. There you go. So I have these layers. I got 3 values, which is I think a good amount to at least to have. I think as far as a minimum amount, definitely 3. I wouldn't do 2. And if you're going to do more than that, then sort of it's a balancing act, because you want there to be one dominant, and you want there to be one that's a little bit. So in this case, like maybe the lightest light is sort of the minor, and the major is sort of that mid range. So now I'm gonna play with the values a little bit. I'm gonna sort of make this a little bit. See, what is the value of this? This is a 40%, actually 70%. So let's make it a little bit in the middle. Yeah, and then I can kind of adjust. Just play with. See what happens when you start to move this stuff around. And I almost want to make this gun predominantly kind of dark. With the exception of this part. I kind of like the idea where it's for the most part dark. Right. And now I'm gonna start to give this some like a background. So I want to start to imagine it being sort of lit in a soft box. So I'm just going to take my airbrush, start to give it just go with the 40. Yeah, I recommend doing this. Actually, the reverse. I'm going to go light. It's already dark. That's what the problem I'm having. I'm just trying to see where it works. I don't want it too light. So I can always dial this back. I'll make a new layer. Kind of beef up. Same thing, I'll make another new layer and just, I want to add a shadow to the ground. I can kind of, use a layer mask to sort of All right. Just kind of adjusting the values because I can always, you know, sort of beef it up if I need to. Hey, what just happened there? I'm confused. Oh, yeah, I think it just doubled. All right. All right. And now I can paint in a shadow layer. So I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to sort of set this to multiply, probably lower it down to like a 50%. And the same idea is I want to utilize a brush that's pretty much opaque. I want to paint this as if it's one. So that's kind of dark. So I'm just going to lower the opacity until it's just about right. There you go. And really, this layer is showing it this light, right? But if I turn the opacity up, it's black. But because it's on multiply, when I lower it, oh, it doesn't even actually. In this case, you can leave it on normal. It's still going to do the same thing. So because there's no color, I forgot. Since there's no color, you don't need it to be multiply. But I'm going to move it back to 25%. And there you go. It's transparent. So I'm going to select everything, just delete that. And now I want to clip it, right? This layer, I want it to clip to that base. So same thing, hold down Option, click on the line between the layer that it's on the above, right? And now I can kind of what I like to do is sort of figure. I'll take one edge. And I'll just I'll hide the edges, just try to get that in the right spot. And now I can get this edge. Same thing here, I'll just kind of erase into it and then just oops. Forgot, make sure this layer is clipped. For whatever reason, mine wasn't. There you go. And you know, right now I'm doing this very hard edge and everything's sort of crisp, but you know, I'm gonna soften it later just using the layer mask. So I think so this will be all in shadow. And then just to incorporate a little bit of reflected light, I'll erase into the bottom edge. Same thing here. Right. So this will be like a sort of an indentation or a relief into it. So this will be more or less all in shadow. I'll take like like liberty as far as like light logic is concerned, and just sort of I want the shape is the shadow is a shape as well, so I want that to be interesting as well too. So, or have a sense of flow or dynamics to it. So I'll go ahead and just carve into it, going against some of the light logic, just for the sake of aesthetic. I think you can get carried away with it, but I think for this, it's fine. It's just. You can just erase into that bottom edge. All right. Now, for whatever reason, your shadow is maybe, just go ahead and, lighten it or darken it. Move that slider on as far as the opacity, the layers of opacity. Move that up, or move it down. Just if it helps you see better, see what the shapes are doing. So go ahead and adjust it, because we're going to be adjusting it on the fly pretty much at every point. So I'll just add in some reflected. There you go. Sitting down here. So like this, I'll right. some of these don't. I'm not really. I honestly don't even know. Like they just end up happening there just because like a happy accident, if you will. So that's okay. Just like, oh, okay, that's a secondary plate now. That kind of thing. It's just from the nature of just how many lines are drawn or what have you. Choosing maybe this could be dark. Making sure that cast shadow feels like a cast shadow just by carrying it over. Now you might be wondering like, well, what if the shadows aren't going to be this hard edge? We'll kind of utilize a soft brush in a layer mask just to kind of feather back some of those edges. So it's not like a comic book kind of shadow. It's not just a flat graphic shape. It's uh, starting to see how wonky my the cylinder is here. It's very wonky, right? That's okay. It's whatevs at this point. All right, so I'm gonna kind of fill this guy in. Maybe it comes down. I'm gonna take some major artistic license liberty here and just let's just yeah, like in this instance, we would definitely have to soften the shadow on this side, the underside, so that it's that being hard edged like that just I see that pops out. So let's, there's a shadow and then it, whoops, Photoshop, you're being a little weird. Please stop. It's really, I'm not pushing the right buttons at the right time. I think I am, but it's, there you go. Yep. Sometimes I forget I'm recording, so if you hear silence, it's usually because I'm thinking like, oh, what about this? Or I'm forgetting like, hey, I'm recording. Gotta say something. So there you go. Almost there. I think this will be the last of any kind of tedious anything tedious. So I think this will be the last of it, because everything else is pretty much um, taking advantage of these shapes, right? All these layers with these shapes. So um, right. All right. All right, there you go. Maybe I should. So I kind of like there being. Actually, you know what? Nah. Let's stick with 2/3 and 1/3. kind of. There you go. All right, we're almost there. We're at very close to the goal line here. I've been looking at this for too long. I need to remember to blink. It's not good for you, right? Yeah, just as far as like long term, you know, health. I think getting up and taking breaks is a good thing. You know, short breaks, getting out and stretching out, and going for a walk or any of that kind of stuff, because sitting in one place is not good. If you can get one of those like stand-up desks, which is what I'm looking into now. I have friends that have tested it out, or I've seen configurations, and I think that might be the way to go. All right, so we have our shadow layer. All right, that looks pretty cool. And I kind of make it darker, lighter as I need to. I'm going to take my shadow layer and add a layer mask to it. And I'm going to now painting with black. I can go ahead and soften up edges where I need them to be soft. So this one, I just want to protect that on the bottom side. If we turn it up, you can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm just sort of creating a little bit softer edge for that. It's kind of cool. This looks like something out of like a film noir, you know, like one of my favorite movies to watch. I just love to rewatch is the Animatrix, and there's like a I think it was the Track Runner. It sort of has that sort of really dark shadows and just a lot of like grays, and I love that. I mean, just the look. You know what I mean? Like that whole series is just awesome. Just some. I think it's better than the movies. You know, just sort of the live action movies. So actually, let me just protect that. So I'm just using the lasso tool to sort of protect the surrounding shadows. You know. Same thing here. I'll just kind of. Whoops. go ahead and this one's right. And the idea is that there's light reflecting back into a very soft turn. So this is a very gradual turn in terms of a plane change, right? It's very round. So I'm going to soften those edges. I think you could do it. You could do it here too. But nah, you know what? I'm not going to on that because I realize I'll have to paint. It's bothering me now. Now I have to sort of do it. I have to like see if it's going to work or not. Like that's my. So we just kind of come here. I actually might just keep it with that black. It's like this look. It's kind of cool. The more I look at it, the more I'm like, interesting. like it's I become my own sort of copy machine, so it's like I do the same thing over and over again. So it's kind of cool just to see that like that. So yeah, the soft edge on that area doesn't really do much, you know. So I'm gonna leave it as I originally had it. It just there's no sense of I'm not gonna fuss over it. All right. All right, now time for the good part, the fun part, which is the highlights. So I'm gonna take overlay and with somewhat of a, I can clip it so it's there, and now I can paint in the highlights. Now there's many ways you could do this where I could take like, maybe I could utilize the magic wand. Sample all layers. Let me make this background white. There you go. I'm going to utilize the magic wand just so that I'm painting only within. Then I really don't have to worry about sort of any lines or what have you. But let's see. Let's make a difference. Let's see, overlay. All right, so I have it on overlay, and that's so it builds up. I almost want to like sort of do that style now. something to be said about just a nice graphic read on something. Man, this is it's starting to feel that way. You know, it's more. Why isn't it not? Oh, I see, because sample all layers is not turned on. That's why. All right. Oh, to just. There you go. That's what I wanted. And I'm gonna make a new layer and set it to overlay again. And I'll clip it as well. Now I want to get into a little bit of the hard edge. Some parts I want it to be kind of flared. I don't want it to be just sort of just even all around. So I don't want it to make it feel like we're like cheesy, like reflective chrome. Like I instantly went to that just because it sort of has that that setup there that you see a lot in. Where there's like a reflected horizon line, and then wait, what is that? Oh, is that shadow? What's that layer? I'm just gonna clean that up. I'm gonna go back to my highlight layer. I'm just gonna sort of beef it. And just hit those edges. I think I'm running out of time as far as this video is. This is what, oh, 2 hours? Yeah, so I don't like to go too long. You get the idea. I'm, just want to be, I don't want to get it too, right. If I really want to get extremely, I, you know, I could treat this the same way I treated the shadow layers. I could just paint like a flat white on it, and although wherever I think the highlight should be, I could essentially do the same thing, and then feather off edges I need to, and so forth. It's very laborious, but man, seeing how beautiful, like, the graphic quality this is turning out to be, maybe that's the way to go. That's pretty cool. I like how that's turning out. I want to add some rust to it. Images, rust. I can take that, and I set it to maybe like soft light. Maybe just where some of those parts I wanted to show, just to kind of help flatten out. And I can utilize, like, I'll group the layer and then just add a layer mask to that group, so the original layer mask is still retained. I'll take that same one and delete it. Just kind of move it to a different location, and then same thing. I'll just paint it in. it's kind of cool, you know, just to see it. I would like to put in some ornamentation in here, maybe take some photos and snap it into those areas. So let's try and see what that's gonna look like. So I just kind of grab this bad boy. Yeah, maybe I'll still stuck in that stupid layer mask. I'm gonna take that layer and just sort of, maybe I could just clip it to that layer. Whoops. Clip it to that layer. Nah, I'll do it this way. I don't know, I want it to be transparent, so I'll put it on one of these layer modes. It's too big, you know, I'm just kind of messing with it, see if I can get it so that it fills that out pretty nicely, but I don't think I have a choice. You know, I don't think it's just gonna be too weird, you know, if I start to force the scale, right, of that. So let me try another solution. Let me see, I'll delete this one. So here, just put in that. Alright, so same thing, I'm gonna take this layer mask it, strip it of its color, soft light, overlay. Oops, gotta make sure it's turn off that. This might be able to work. You know, it's in a strange position, but you know, it's like this one. I'll scale it down so it's tiny. And they're very pixelated. I mean, interpolated. They're very pixelated. But I think that's a good thing. I mean, because you don't want it to be too much, So in terms of a concept, it's just there to act as a placeholder. Whoops. Whoa. Okay, good. I was painting. Whoa, wait, what? Okay, I just want to make sure that. Can go back over this and just utilizing the original base layer. Another trick I'll do is I'll stack the texture right over it, and then the second one I'll feather it out. So it's only the doubling of the overlay layers stacking on top of each other only appears. See, like that, like it only appears in that area. I can keep doing this so that there's a little bit more clarity. Yeah. Kind of cool. And then the background, let's take another sort of rust texture, and I'll take a brushed metal. Something like that. Then I'll put it over my background layer. Soft light. I can kind of paint in sort of where I want it. It's just there to act as. Actually, maybe I'll make it go all the way to above everything. Just painting right on the image. What the hell was I doing? I'll take overlay. And I think that's it. There you have it. Kind of. I'll just cut a quick sketch or a concept sketch, so like you could show a director and kind of get them to sign off on it, or hopefully. Right. Well, thanks for watching. My name is Kevin Blanchard, and thank you for watching my tutorial. Please like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. I want to be making more of these videos and potentially some Gumroad tutorials in the future. So yeah, please support. I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. All right, later.